Now, as you may know, the right of reply is a fairness obligation that's a cardinal editorial principle at major global news organizations. And tonight, that right goes to Terver Akase, Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to Governor Ortom of Benue State, who responds to our interview on Friday with Professor Usman Yusuf, Special Advisor on Community Engagement to the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, in which Professor Usman alleged that Governor Ortom is, in his words, the most irresponsible governor in Nigeria for banning open grazing in Benue State. It follows the killing of dozens of people, mostly pastoralists, in an airstrike in Nasarawa State, which some have alleged was a drone attack. And it coincides with what appears to be a cascading level of violence and deaths in the north-central region, where ethnic conflict appears to be deepening. Take a listen to what Professor Usman had to say.
Excuse my language, bring him over here to answer to what I said. Samuel Ortom of Benue State is the most irresponsible governor bar none. From his words and deeds, he has put draconian and irresponsible law in Benue State of banning open grazing. When Fulani herders go to graze their cattle, they are seized by a militia, whatever he calls them. So their cattle was seized and taken custody, and they taxed them 27 million naira for them to collect their cattle. They didn't have money. It took them time to collect the money. And they went and paid this illegal tax of 27 million and collected their cattle, about 1,000 cattle. They were moving out of Benue State into Nasarawa State, and kaboom, the Air Force came and bombed them.
Well, that was Professor Yusuf Usman. Well, for his reaction and right of reply, I'm joined now in the studio by Terver Akase, Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to Governor Ortom of Benue State. Thank you very much for coming in.
I'm happy to be here, Charles.
So what's your reaction to what Professor Usman had to say about your Governor Samuel Ortom?
Well, you see, when I listen to what the professor, I prefer to call him Malam Yusuf Usman, because a professor should know the right diction to use on an elected governor, a sitting governor for that matter. A professor should know that the state has the right, under the laws of this country, to enact legislations for the good governance of that state. And agriculture is not on the exclusive legislative list. A professor should know all this. And so what he said came across like bigotry. It came with the perceptible taste of a bigot. And that's rightly who he is. And you see, these are the people who are the problem of this country. Now he has become an attack dog to a presidential candidate. He has left, he has abandoned his profession. But I will not be surprised, because this is a man who was sacked in 2019 by President Muhammadu Buhari after 2 panels indicted him heavily on corruption, that he diverted funds meant for the coverage of Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, in the National Health Insurance Scheme. He was the executive secretary of the NHIS, and diverted funds meant for the insurance of people of this country. And so the recommendation was made, the secretary to the government of the Federation made a recommendation that he be sacked after the Ministry of Health. Its panel had recommended that this man be relieved of his appointment. And so Mr. President had no option than to let him go. This is the same man who is grandstanding on responsibility in governance. Where has he been responsible before?
Right. Well, let's look
at... He has failed in all responsibilities that he has been given.
Right.
So he lacks what it takes to criticize anyone.
Right.
Governor Samuel Ortom has been the most responsible governor in terms of governance, in terms of being for his people, standing with his people and doing what his people want. And let me tell Malam Yusuf Usman, that Governor Ortom is not alone in this struggle. Benue people, more than 6 million Benue people, are behind Governor Samuel Ortom. So if he and anyone who sits somewhere and thinks that Governor Ortom can be vilified and set up for elimination, they have got it wrong coming.
Right. Okay.
They have 6 million Benue people to contend with.
Okay. Well, the argument that he's making, Professor Usman, is that if there wasn't this anti-grazing rule and the confiscation of the cattle of these grazers, then there wouldn't have been this situation which made this attack on those he called innocent people possible. He claims they were attacked after their cattle were seized and they had to pay 27 million naira to recover the cattle. And it was while they were moving their cattle out of Benue into Nasarawa that the airstrike took place.
Now, I will come to that issue of people moving out of Benue with their cattle. But let me say that before the Open Grazing Prohibition and Ranches Establishment Law of Benue State was enacted in 2017, Benue came under attacks by Fulani herdsmen 46 times. The former governor of Benue State, now senator representing Benue Northeast, Senator Gabriel Suswam, was attacked by the same herdsmen in 2014 near Tokula village in Guma local government area. Then Governor Ortom was not near government house as governor. Now you tell me that it is the law that Governor Ortom has made that is the cause of the problem. No, it's not. What about Zamfara? What about Kaduna State, where herdsmen are killing people? Nigerians have become like animals in their country by these same herdsmen. And you have a professor who should know better that the constitution of this country gives Nigerians the right to live in their country. You invade communities and kill people at will, and a professor sits somewhere and is justifying the killings. This guy must be a joke. He and other sponsors of Fulani herdsmen are jokers. And you see, it is so sad that people of this kind will sit and say things and generalize things. When the PDP presidential candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, wrote something after the killings in Beji, a community in Ukum local government area of Benue State, which was supposed to be a sympathy message. And somewhere in that message, he said that until and unless our people are given the right, they are allowed to live in the communities where they want to be. I'm not quoting him verbatim. I'm giving you a context of what he said. That until our people, and he was referring
and our people means Fulani people.
Fulani herdsmen, until they are allowed to live in Benue communities, the problem will not stop. That was the implication of what he said. Right. And I suspect that Malam Yusuf Usman was the script writer of that statement.
Well, let's take it up from there, because from what I understand, a lot of Fulanese see that law as a form of ethnic profiling, and perhaps more worrying and dangerous is the fact that they think Governor Ortom is trying to ethnically cleanse Benue of Fulanese, and they've lived there apparently for generations. Now, is it your sense that this anti-grazing law has hindered peace and reconciliation in Benue State, or has it helped it? Because we're hearing of reports of armed herders now carrying out reprisal attacks on Tiv villages.
Now, first of all, there is nothing like clashes between farmers and herdsmen in Benue State. We are talking about an occupation agenda here, where some people, some gun-carrying people invade communities being sponsored by people like Yusuf Usman and others. I watched a video today of the deposed Emir of Kano, who was campaigning against Governor Ortom and others who are standing, according to him, standing in the way of the Fulanese occupying communities in Benue State. And he called on people to vote out Governor Ortom. And I said, Come on. A supposed statesman saying this? So you can see the agenda. Governor Ortom has been put up for elimination, and we know those who are behind it. But I have said already that they have got it wrong. Now, back to the open grazing law. The law is clear. It protects both the farmer and the herder. The law has nothing to do, it's not an anti-herder law. It is a law that if you read, I recommend this law to Malam Usman. Let him read that law, and he will see that if herdsmen avail themselves of that law, they will love it even better than farmers, because the law is very clear in section 20 that if you rustle animals that are in ranches, then you will be, if you are found guilty of cattle rustling, you will be prosecuted, and the law will take its course.
So that's supposed to protect those herdsmen. It protects
both the farmer and the herder. And before the law was made, this is not a Governor Ortom law. Let's correct that impression. The law is not Governor Samuel Ortom's law. It is a Benue people's law, which the State Assembly made it after 3 public hearings in the 3 senatorial zones. And Fulani herdsmen were invited as well to tender memoranda. Let them be part of the process. Public hearings were held in Zone C, Zone A, B, and C before Benue people made input into the making of that law. That's why I said, anyone who thinks Governor Ortom is the cause of the problem, that person is getting it wrong, because it is not an Ortom issue.
Right.
It is a Benue issue. And now, another question is, when you say your people have been attacked in Benue, and we are saying there is an invasion, you are saying there is no invasion, and now you are saying people are taking their animals out and they are attacked. That means they came into Benue from somewhere, if there was anything of that sort. If you are not in Benue, for instance, we have Benue people, we have Fulani people in Benue. Governor Ortom has Fulanis as his appointees. Now, if you are not from Benue, it means you have come into Benue territory. That's what it means. Livestock guards don't carry arms. Their job is to support conventional security to do their job.
Right. So,
and anyone who accuses them of unnecessarily impounding animals out of or beyond the territory of Benue, that person is lying. They know the boundary. Benue and Nasarawa have a common boundary, right? Yet, livestock guards know where the Benue boundary ends and where the Nasarawa boundary ends. And when the people who came to collect the last animals, the last cows that I think around Way West or so, from our security department, only 3 people came. Now, if you are saying hundreds of people have been bombed somewhere, that certainly has nothing to do with Governor Ortom, because from what our security department told us, only 3 people, 3 headers or leaders of heads came.
Well, more than 50 people
and the
were
law,
killed. Yeah.
The law does not permit people, when they retrieve their animals from the quarantine unit, to travel with them by foot. They take them in trucks. And they use if you are going outside Benue, you use the known roads. You are not permitted to travel with animals by foot. So any question that the herders were attacked somewhere, that is not for me. I'm not a security person. And I believe that the security forces of this country have already spoken on that. Whatever happened there, Benue did not know. Governor Ortom had no hand in it. He didn't send anyone to go after whoever had animals in the Nasarawa territory. And it didn't happen in Benue at all.
Right. Well,
Doma local government is not in Benue. It is in Nasarawa. And the governor of Nasarawa has already spoken about it. This morning, Governor Ortom visited him in Lafia, paid condolence visit on him, and sympathized with him over the loss of his son, and also asked that Nigerians should speak less in terms of
should make less inflammatory statements. Okay. Well, I think you've made that point, and you've responded to what he had to say. While I've got you here, we've got about a minute and a half or so left. Let's turn to the decision of the G5 governors, of which your governor is a part, to stay outside the PDP fold and withhold support for Atiku Abubakar. Where do things stand at the moment?
Well, he has said clearly already that if he were not a PDP member, he would have publicly campaigned for Peter Obi, because Peter Obi is the one who the cap fits at this time.
Right, but he is a PDP member, so where do things stand?
Looking at the problems that Nigerians have,
right,
only Peter Obi has what it takes. If you look at the crop, the array of, the crop of candidates that we have on this table, Peter Obi has proven elsewhere in his home state that he can tackle security, he can tackle the economy. And Governor Ortom has said it openly that if I were not in PDP, I would have campaigned public. I would have gone around with Peter Obi.
So basically, to end the conversation, the decision to withhold support for Atiku, who is the presidential candidate of the PDP, still stands.
I don't speak for the G5. They speak for themselves. But I speak for my principal, and I am here to tell what he has said. Now, the G5 are still in talks. They are, the talks are ongoing, and perhaps a resolution will be reached before the elections. But if there is no resolution, the governor has already said that elections will be done. The balloting will be done according to the elections. That we will vote according to the elections, and Benue people know this. But don't forget that wherever Governor Ortom goes, majority of Benue people go with him because they have confidence in him. He has proven over time that he's selfless. He has done a lot in terms of infrastructure.
Right.
He has provided a lot of amenities, roads, hospitals, and so on. And he has touched on the issue of salaries as well, with the domestication of the pension law.
Well, you would say that, wouldn't you? I mean, although arguably what you're saying it may be backed up by fact. But I want to thank you very much indeed. Terver Akase is a special advisor on media and publicity to Governor Ortom of Benue State. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.